over. Oh, hey, you can sit with us.
Hi, everyone. Michael Pugliese here. We are at Circadia headquarters for the Skin Society podcast with Krista, Mia, and Maria.
Yes.
Thank you all, ladies, so much for not just inviting me to be on the podcast, but for coming all the way here to Leesport, Pennsylvania at the Circadia HQ to interview.
Yes, thank you so much. Our pleasure. Thank you so much for having us.
Yes,
absolutely.
You so much.
My pleasure to have you here.
We are so excited today, guys. We just got a tour of the facility. It is amazing.
Yes.
We are super inspired by you. We met Michael. Actually, Mia has known Michael now for a little bit, but
I've been a fan for a little bit. I've been a fan.
We met him this year at the trade show, and Krista and I were just
Blown
super
away.
impressed by you. Your knowledge, your delivery, your personality, everything just attracted us to Circadia and everything that Circadia stands for.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
today,
love your energy, which is why I had no hesitation agreeing to have you all come out and do the podcast. So I appreciate you all being here.
we are definitely going to pick your brain today because
Already?
we have a lot of questions. And like I said, Michael is very educational. So you guys are going to learn a lot today. We got to tour the facility. So I guess we'll just start with, how did you get started in the industry?
Yes.
Like, what led you here?
Yeah, so I mean, you could say I was born into this. My grandfather started this company, Circadia, in 2001. Before he started his own brand, he was consulting for the industry for decades. Started making cosmetic products in the early 70s. And then in the late 70s, early 80s, developed his consulting business where he was developing, testing, and manufacturing products for a number of other brands. And of course, that led him to the educational part of his career where he was invited to aesthetic trade shows, educating estheticians, and ultimately wrote the first advanced professional skincare textbook in 1989.
Wow.
So all of that, history baked into when I was of age, freshly graduated from college, and my grandfather said, well, what are you going to do now? And there was a number of businesses, research and development, manufacturing, publishing, and then Circadia. So he said, Circadia's a little company. It was only a couple of years old in 2004 when I joined. And I said, well, let's take a start there. We'll just kind of take a look. And there was a couple moments there where I'm like, I'm not really sure what this is. I mean, I knew that my family was in skincare, the business, but I had no idea what this was. So it was that summer of 2004 that was my first introduction to Circadia and the industry, and then what would become my passion.
Wow.
I love that.
So from going from there, from jumping in from like just being a fish out of water, and there you're jumping into this whole experience of skincare. What was that like? Like, what was it like mentally, like from being a young kid, early young adult, and saying like, now I'm into skincare. What was the transition like?
Like,
for
were you surprised that you developed the
did
passion?
you
For
not like
sure.
it at
It was,
first?
listen,
Like-
it was completely overwhelming initially.
Yeah.
Because, that summer, 2004, it was August, I went to the Face and Body show, which is one of the skinning shows. And that's when it was in San Francisco. And my grandfather, we had a booth. It was a tiny booth for Circadia. But my grandfather was speaking on a recently introduced product, which was our oxygen.
Yeah,
The first iteration of the oxygen kit. And literally, had just launched it the month before. And I got to the show, and I was just blown away by how people responded to him.
Right.
We had this little booth, and then there's these other gigantic booths.
Yeah. But everybody's coming to him.
Huge productions, and we couldn't get 5 steps without Dr. Pugliese, let's take a picture. And this is before cell phones, so everyone's like, shh, shh, shh. Wait, I need another one. Shh, shh, shh. Right? So just the response that people had to him, I thought, well, this is different. I had no idea. So we get to the classroom, and it's packed. Like literally, there's people sitting on the floor, and it's hot.
Oh my God.
And people are just like hanging on every word. And I remember talking to a gal in the back of the classroom at the end, and she said, I have no idea what he was talking about. But I know it's really important. So, I saw that there was not just an opportunity that was not being tapped into when it came to Circadia as a business, but also just the, how beloved he was in that moment. And I was just like, there's just something missing here. And the reality is it came later that, Circadia was a very, very small company.
Yeah.
2.5 years is not a very long time for any company.
Yeah.
But we had the benefit of all of his knowledge and experience baked into who we were as a brand. We had 30 years of research and development. We had manufacturing. We had incredible foundations and roots in education. Like literally the guy who wrote the textbook on professional aesthetics. So all of that was extremely advantageous, and I thought, this is a lane that I'm just going to kind of run in for a while. And all the things that I do now as the owner and the CEO, and whether it's helping to spearhead R&D and development, or doing education or coaching the team, whatever department it may be, we have a bunch. I always look back to that time and say, okay, this is the path that I was on, but I had no idea.
Yeah.
No idea.
It's amazing.
20 years what I was going to be in store for.
Yeah.
So it was.
What was crazy is when we were at the trade show in New York and we went to your class, I was sitting there the same thing. I was in awe. I was
She was like this. I'm like, pick your chin up.
Yeah, we were just like,
the way he speaks, the way he embodies skincare. I was like, I'm some brain stuff down.
Yeah. She's like, check me out. We're gonna get this.
and everything was easy to
I
understand. Easy to understand,
It's so surreal for you to say that was your first moment with your grandpa, and you saw people flock for you to have that moment of your own.
Yeah, and now it's you.
And
We're
now it's
fanning
you. 'Cause
Yeah.
You may not know it, but you literally exude that energy.
Yeah, like I can
people
only
gravitate
imagine
towards you,
Richard,
yeah.
being in front of your grandfather because you have the same
Well, I picked
effect
up
on
a
us.
couple things.
So
Taking notes.
I bragged to them, like, once the New York trade show was coming up, I'm like, gosh, we got to go to buy the Circadia booth. You're not going to believe it. Like, this guy's amazing. I met him last year because I met you in Philly the year before.
Yeah.
And we partied, and it was such a good time. I'm like, not only is he so smart and he's just so passionate about the brand, he can throw a hell of a party. I'm like, I kept saying, we got to go. You guys have to meet him. And they're like, okay, sure. Like, you get to the trade show and it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
And then I saw your booth, and I'm like, we got to go over there. So I said, okay. Then we took the class. They was like, oh my God, you were right. Then we went to the party like, oh my God, you were right. Like, they just
sold.
they were like,
a hell of a night.
Yeah, it was a hell of a night.
it's like, nonetheless, it's just your energy. Like you didn't remember my name at the time, but when you said, what was your name again? And then I introduced you to them. You just made us feel so welcome. They was like, wow, I feel like I knew him. I'm like, that's how I felt the very first time. And that was only my first time meeting you was the year before.
Well, I mean, and that's something that is very important to me as who we are as a company, a brand, our culture is to be inviting. Right?
That's exactly what it is.
Approachable, and that's I've had a lot of mentors over the years. I mean, this is my 21st year in business. Circadia has been around since 2001, but this is 21 years that I've been with Circadia.
Yeah.
This is your baby.
And I
Like,
think about it, it's crazy because I remember people telling me 10 years is going to go by and you won't even remember what happened. Now it's 20 years.
yeah.
So it's always been important to me to make sure that we are approachable, that I'm approachable.
Very.
Because I've been on the other side of that. I've tried to approach people
Yeah.
and get that kind of vibe from some of them. So, and of course I love to have a good time. And I love to make sure that the people around me are having a good time. And whether that's our team, whether that's our clients, whether that's our clients' clients, I want to make sure that we're fostering an environment where it's a really good, fun energy.
You really set the bar.
Literally.
Yeah, no, you do, because it's like every time I go to a booth or whatever, everybody's always happy. Like I've never seen anyone around you that like had a frown on their face.
Yeah.
Like it's so easy to be happy around you and in your space. You have really good energy. That's like
Thank you. And the energy is
so big.
contagious. So
It is.
have a bad energy. And believe,
100%.
don't get me wrong. Like over the years, there are always going to be moments. There's always going to be challenges. There's always going to
Absolutely,
be difficulty and adversary. One of the sayings that it's not mine, and I forget where I heard it the first time, is that adversity has to be part of the plan.
Yeah.
You have to know
I love that.
whatever you do,
yeah.
you are going to be challenged. And
Absolutely.
those are the moments where you find that you're being stretched. So as much fun as it is,
Yeah.
and it looks, know that it's hard. None of it's easy.
Yeah, no, you don't make it look easy, but you handle it well.
But you got to make sure you're
Grace.
having fun.
And you're
Yeah.
humble.
And-
Yeah, that's the biggest thing.
Thank
How
you.
humble
and
you
no
are.
matter how hard it gets, it's going to be okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be okay. It's a part of the plan.
This is going to be fine
Yeah.
because we've already accounted for the fact that we know it's going to be hard and we're going to deal with moments.
Yeah,
I love that.
I love it. You are amazing.
I know.
I'm blown away.
Literally. So we did get to get a little sneak peek at some new products that you guys are working with and some new things that are coming to Circadia. So ingredient-wise or just production-wise, what is your favorite thing to like make? Or what is your favorite thing that you have created?
It's like
Yeah.
asking who's your favorite child.
Listen, we could that question for us.
Oh, currently, I guess. Present day, what's your favorite?
Let's start with the newest. I would say, Right now, there's a heavy focus in the industry on microbiome
Yeah.
and the health of the microbiome. This is a concept that's not new to us as an industry, and certainly not new to the physiology of the skin. But the understanding of it, the really micro understanding of what microbiome, no pun intended, the microbiome is designed to do. So there, I feel like has been a lot of misinformation or kind of putting the cart before the horse. Like the information came out so fast, and it's like, well, let's use live bacteria in the skincare product because the gut bacteria, it's a completely different environment.
Yes.
So the bacteria that thrives in the gut is not the same as the bacteria that is present to help to protect against pathogens and other microbes on the skin. Even further, you can't put a living bacteria inside a cosmetic product because, as I explained when we were doing the tour, we've got to make sure there's no fungus, bacteria, mold. There can't be anything living in a product.
Right. Yeah.
Versus, if you're taking a probiotic supplement.
That's different. That's different. Yeah.
So that expansion of that particular subject and subject matter within the industry is fascinating to me. And I always go with what I'm most interested in. It's one of the things that I found is you've got to be able to follow trends and understand what's trends and what are things that are going to be veins that are going to drive change within the industry. And the understanding of the function of the microbiome is a big one. This ingredient versus that ingredient, that'll be sorted out eventually. And as that space develops, we'll see more development out of that. But the development of some of our new products, I'm sure by the time the podcast comes out, we will have launched. So I don't mind sharing with you.
Okay.
Next week in Europe, we are launching our pre and postbiotic mask.
Oh.
Pre and postbiotic nourishing mask with an ingredient called royal tea. And just a little bit of insight. I won't go too long into the detail. But instead of a probiotic, you look at pre and postbiotics. These are the things that are there to help to nourish the microbiome. They help to feed the bacteria. They help to keep potential pathogenic or disease-causing bacteria at bay and providing an environment that they won't thrive in. So ingredients like inulin, which comes from chicory root. There's another, which is agave is another one.
Yeah.
There's something called alpha-glucan.
Yep.
Beta-glucan is very well known, but alpha-glucan is something that can help to nourish microbiome activity. So these are the things that we're incorporating into not just that formula, but formulas that we are launching throughout the rest of the year. Focusing on microbiome health, I think, is going to be not just a trend, not just a main vein, but something that we are going to continue to develop new technology around.
I love it. So you said it was releasing next week. When? Where?
Next week in Germany.
So will we have it here?
We've got one here.
Oh! so we leaving one.
We're leaving one.
That's our motto.
So we promised our international distributors. I think I told you we've got. I think it's more than 40 countries that are represented by the distributors that are there, and I think almost 30 individual distributors that are coming to the meeting in Germany. We wanted to make sure that they were getting, the
exclusive,
exciting, exclusive, event that is a Circadia product launch. So we're launching that in Germany with them first. All of our European, our Middle Eastern partners, Australia, Central South America, Canada, New Zealand, they're all going to be there. So.
I love it.
And they don't know, so don't tell anybody.
We won't tell. It won't come out until next week.
We've been keeping it under wraps as best as we possibly can. Our social media team sent me something for approval yesterday. He's like, "Can I put this out?" I'm like, "No, you can see right on there.
Yeah,
it's right on the bottle. We don't want to let them know yet.
No.
Yeah.
After next Thursday, we can let the world know."
Oh,
okay.
Wow. So after next Thursday.
If you can create any product in the world, what would it be?
I'm having a lot of fun with products that I never thought would fit into the Circadia line.
Really?
The lip products. And I have to say, these are fun products. They're I don't want to say they're simple because every product needs its own, has its own journey, needs attention, needs to be given its just deserved when it comes to how these things get assembled and put together. But I never thought that we would, as a brand, get the kind of response that we're getting to this category.
Yeah.
Our lip products have exploded.
Yeah.
When you gave it out in New York, I was like, what the hell? Because I've never used it. I was like, whoa.
But when I was at the Philly trade show, the girls was going crazy. Oh, it's no more watermelon. It's no more. I was like, calm down. Save some for others.
Would you formulate a scrub? Do you think is that like in the works?
Yeah. So
like a lip scrub.
And again, so we've looked at the 3 flavors that we've launched that have been so successful.
Yeah.
That we're looking at now seasonal holiday launches, which I'm able to share those with you.
Yes.
We got a little
those don't launch
sneak peek.
until August.
So mum's the word. We won't say anything.
But we've also looked at the opportunity. Our Advent calendar has been a very successful marketing initiative for the last couple of years. So we have a Circadia Advent calendar, little samples, a couple
That's so
full-size
cute.
product, the little brushes and things. So we do have a product that is not currently in development, but is being conceptualized for a lip scrub to introduce into the Advent calendar.
I love
So
it.
we're looking at getting a sample exclusive launch in that product. So it truly is a surprise.
I love it.
Pull that little drawer open.
Yeah.
It's like early Christmas.
Yeah.
Yes.
So my question is for you, what do you wish people knew about Circadia? Like, what is the one thing that you want put out there if you can say it?
Sure. I think the comprehension
That's a good question.
on what is a fantastic question because we have so much to share.
Yeah.
We introduced Circadia University 2 years ago, and around the Circadia University idea, we created what's called the House of Circadia, and those are our 7 brand pillars. It includes things like our commitment to research and development, into manufacturing, the culture, the education, all the things that make Circadia unique and special and different. What I struggled with early on, especially when it was a completely unknown brand, you have to go back to not Circadia 2024, where a lot of people know who we are.
Yeah.
So a lot of people might know Dr. Pugliese in the profession, but certainly no one knows Circadia.
Yeah.
So the conversation of, "Hi, I'm Michael from Circadia," and they're like the bug? That's a cicada. Circadia is skincare based on circadian rhythms. So I feel like I've made it part of my goals, my mission, to be able to communicate more effectively the importance of circadian function.
Yeah.
And it's been an amazing road because, again, those early days, it was almost impossible for me to be able to find tools. And I came across something called Chronobiology. It's a website, chronobiology.com, which was just like a wealth of information and knowledge on circadian function within the body. Not specifically pertaining to the skin, some of it was, but just circadian rhythm. So I was able to extrapolate a lot of biology, information about the biology of circadian rhythms when it came to that. And then that, in turn, was able to put me kind of on that next step of the journey of communicating the importance. 15 years later, not even, we started seeing the ingredient suppliers that supply not just Circadia. We're all able to see the R&D and the manufacturing. We're making everything internally. Every brand that makes skincare, for the most part, has access to the same stuff.
Yeah.
We can all get our hands on the same raw materials because all these suppliers, whether it's one of the top beauty houses in the world or whether it's the smallest brand that's just starting out, you have access to that material. Raw material suppliers are now creating a lot of their technology based on circadian function. So you'll see something, a trade ingredient that we're using in the pre and postbiotic. It's called Circin Blue. It's a fermented extract of a probiotic and a prebiotic that creates a postbiotic.
Wow.
That's where the postbiotics come in. And it's helping to balance circadian function within the skin. When you look at the individual cells, we have all these genes that are named after circadian function. So, being able to see all that kind of come together, it's kind of further to deepen my mission to be able to communicate what is the importance of circadian rhythms. What are they in the first place?
Yeah.
Right? What do they have to do anything with, us, and more importantly, skincare?
Yeah.
So that's what I wish, all that to say, that's what I wish people knew a little bit more about. But I've also made it part of my internal mission to make sure people understand what those things are.
Yeah. I was going to say,
So I was going to say this real quick. If you guys are confused about circadian rhythm, check out our nighttime routine podcast episode because we break down the functions of circadian rhythm and what happens at night while you're sleeping. So if you're ever confused about that, we will definitely send a link to that podcast episode so you guys can check that one out.
And that's fantastic. And I want to watch that too. Because, again, when you start to explain, like every skincare brand has products that you use during the daytime, during nighttime.
Yeah.
It's as simple as, well, here's your SPF and here's your night cream. That is helping to support circadian function.
Yeah.
Right.
Protecting the skin during the day and enhancing repair mechanisms, which include keeping the skin hydrated. You are supporting circadian function within the skin.
Yeah.
So it makes sense already. We just have very specific purpose when it comes to the utilization of this ingredient, this formulation, this
I was just
regimen,
about to say, what sets
this approach.
Circadia apart from the competitors
Well,
when it comes to supporting?
Sorry,
the circadian-
before you do say that, I just want to throw it out there, guys. Circadia University is
I was
free
gonna
to
say that.
sign
Yeah.
up for. Okay,
Yeah.
there is a an immense amount of
You'll
information.
be overwhelmed
Yeah.
with the,
And
how much it
the
is.
circadian rhythm is on the like the explanation of it too is also on
The Circadian
the university.
University.
So
Thank you.
So we'll make sure we're at it.
yes,
Yes.
we'll link it so you guys can create an account and start using.
It'll be the
Circadian
best
University.
thing you've done
Literally.
this year. I promise
Yes.
you.
Well, we appreciate that. And again, we've had tremendous success with the Circadia University as a platform for us to be able to share our education and our knowledge. And this is one of the things that my grandfather it was important to him. And he actually mentioned this, and someone called it to my attention just yesterday. It was actually said, I heard him say something like, when you have education, and you say it's not yours anymore. He used to tell me that all the time. So keep in mind, as protective as people are over their education, and this is my proprietary education. Once you teach somebody something, it's not yours.
Yeah.
It
That's
belongs to everyone.
Yeah.
Anyone who heard it. Yeah.
So it's nice when people give you the credit.
Yeah.
And give you the byline when they've heard it from you. But as soon as you say something, that could be a soundbite that someone's going to use for the next 10, 15, 20 years.
Absolutely.
And I've done that.
Yeah.
I've been around some of the best educators in the world, and I've been able to extrapolate, this piece of information, and it comes into what you're presenting out there into the world. So Circadia University, it's free education to all. Some of it is Circadia centric, but not all of it. Some of it is great general information on physiology, on ingredient technology. And we've got a couple of paid courses up there, but I think it's something like 100 hours of free education.
Literally, it's amazing.
But any knowledge, if you're an SD or you into skincare, any knowledge about skincare is so worth it.
Circadia is
Take whatever you can, because that's how you build yourself as an individual in the skincare world. If you don't know anything, you're just as lost as anybody. You have to start somewhere and start becoming a sponge.
Yeah.
Start being the people that can give you information and factual knowledge, and not just do guesswork off TikTok. So,
And you know what? Since we're talking about just kind of, we had an episode about gatekeeping. And I don't know if that's kind of what you were alluding to as far as like, once you give out information, it's no longer yours.
Yeah.
So do you believe in gatekeeping, or do you I guess I don't want to word it as do you believe in gatekeeping, but are there certain things that you hold dear to that you're like, okay, I'm not sharing this with anyone. This is just Circadia exclusive.
And in the competitive nature of our industry, of course, there's certain things that you don't want to disclose, but there's also certain things that, from a treatment perspective, that you have to disclose. pH of formulations, pH of peels, percentages. You should be able to disclose things like vitamin A, or if you have a range of use of a specific peptide. Those are the kinds of pieces of information that you want to share. You do have to be somewhat protective of your proprietary information and the governance of making sure that it gets distributed to the right people. But the reality is that it's all out there.
I was gonna say, and it seems like once you put something out, next thing everybody is making their own version of it or something like oxygen.
Well, because my grandfather did so many free not just free classes.
He probably taught most of us.
He did.
Yeah.
I mean, you can name 4 or 5 heads of big companies that have either, we'll call him a mentor, said that, have brought work to him that he has done for him that I've witnessed firsthand, or have been to a class that he and I have taught together. I mean, there's several. I'm sure she won't mind me mentioning, but Lisa from Skin Scripts, the CEO of Skin Scripts, before she started the company, she came and took a 4-day cosmetic chemistry course. At the other facility. Back when we used to take, it was 16 students. It was a 4-day class. In the mornings, we were learning about theory of formulations, and in the afternoon, we were actually up on the benches making individual products.
Wow.
I would have loved to be a part of that.
It's a very large opportunity cost, so we stopped doing it. But I can tell you those first few that he and I did together are just magic and incredible memories. Pamela Springer, Lisa.
Pamela Springer, we love too.
Who else was it? I mean, just you name it. It was like a who's who of industry leaders that have come through the original Circadia University before it was even had a name.
Yeah. So to answer your question, he does not gatekeep.
He does not gatekeep.
No, so again, the gatekeeping part of it, and again, you'll look at certain brands that will require an upfront payment and say, okay, if you pay X amount, then you get the education. And maybe that goes towards an opening order package. And that, I don't think that that's necessarily a bad policy, But our policy is we're going to give you all the education and information free. Then you decide whether or not you feel that we're legitimate enough of a company to work with
to make the investment.
And you will be sold.
Yeah, and then the thing is, you also like send out a bunch. If I'm like reach out to a rep, you'll send out a bunch of samples before. Like my first order, you sent out a bunch of samples from me. I'm like, I didn't know what to order, and you guys sent out a bunch of samples.
We try to be very supportive.
You guys are amazing.
Thank you.
I do have a question because a lot of our followers are currently student estheticians. I know when we started as students, a lot of companies accepted students as, part of, so for Circadia University, are you allowed to sign up even as a student?
With a temporary license or?
You can sign up with a student license, whatever you have that just proves the credential. Plus, once we have your information as a student, we help to track your potential success.
Yeah. Oh, I love
you
that.
can register with us as an actual client.
Yeah.
You may not be an opening order client who's retailing products and services yet, but you can register with us so that you can try the products. Hey, I want to try the honey concert. Because a lot of the schools that utilize Circadia, they have the students there that they want to set up their own product. They want to buy their own.
Yeah.
So we allow them to be able to do that, of course, with some restrictions, no peels or professional treatment products. But the students are the future of the industry.
Yeah.
They're there to populate the industry as a whole. So if we can start them on a trajectory with Circadia, with the education.
You're like years ahead of everybody else. I tell you.
Literally that foundation.
There's brands that have been very successful at that over the years. Unfortunately, some of them are recognized as having kind of deviated and gone more direct, which is just something that most brands face at one point or another. But I think it's created a bit of a void in the space of education in the schools.
Yeah.
So lots of opportunity out there, and the schools are graduating more aesthetic students now than they ever have before.
They are.
Yeah, the industry is booming.
Yeah, but I feel like they come out to school and they're so lost. And this is why
but we were lost.
I'm trying to change the rhythm of being lost.
Yeah.
No one should spend, I spent 5, but some people
We
spend
spent
12.
12,000, yeah.
And you come out and you're just so lost.
Because the schools are so dated.
Yeah.
So I'm an esthetician. I went to aesthetic
I know you
school.
were.
Yeah.
I started in 2006, finished in 2007, and I actually didn't take my practical until 2009.
Wow.
Because I was a busy guy. I was building a company. It's funny because I did my practical. We don't need the practical here in Pennsylvania.
No, we don't.
I did my practical on my mom in a lawn chair in the gymnasium, which is where they were doing them. And God bless her, she looked like I had to do the makeup part, finish the makeup.
Oh my gosh!
She had a clown mask on by the end. But it was interesting because now I listen to students, and I hear this in the industry a lot, and I don't particularly like to hear this where people say, well, schools are just designed to get you your license and get you out of school.
I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because if you are listening and you are paying attention and you're there to learn, that's not all that's happening in the schools.
Yeah,
you are learning a lot.
Yeah, you are.
You need to
the
learn.
fundamentals.
A lot of foundation work.
People that are coming through a program that are being told, well, you're only there to get your license.
Yeah.
You need to take advantage of the education that's there. It might not be the best education.
Right.
You may find a lot of other additional educational sources that better suit your needs, but there's education to be had there. And that's an opportune moment to make sure that you are setting yourself up for a successful education path.
I think that what happens is people see a lot what's going on, like on Instagram. People are dermaplaning, people are needling, stuff like that. They don't teach you, especially in Jersey. Like we literally learned the basics, and it was okay because before I went to school, I didn't know anything. Mm-hmm. So school definitely set me up to learn about the circadian rhythm and every other brand that I work with and pills and stuff like that. But I had to go search that information. Right. Yeah. It would be nice if they provided that, but they do teach you enough to feel comfortable.
I think it's a foundation because even when we sat through your chemical peels class in New York and we were learning about the pKa values and all of that, like even just breaking down the cellular structure, amino acids and proteins and all those bonds, like I was telling them, like, even when we were sitting there, like literally he put me back in like the beginning of nursing school because it was like just knowing goes back to the science behind it, right? The physiology, you have to know histology, you have to know how chemistry works, like all of it. And they do teach you that in school, but I think Nia's right. I think we focus so much on like social media that we're like, oh, this is not important. I want to do the dermaplaning. Yeah. But you can't have success unless you understand the basics.
Yeah. And then not for nothing, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Not bad.
They kind of like skip over it too. Like it's like
That's my
yeah,
thing.
like they didn't go through page by page. It was like okay, now turn it. It was like it was up to us. They left it up to us. At least my teacher did actually. She like I'm not afraid of her. I will say her name. She like it was like okay, dang, like what about all this? It's like okay, go read it at home. Okay, yeah, I want to read it, but let's talk about it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and there should be more of that. But again, that generates the opportunity for you to do the deep dive into the information that's there. You will not learn everything that you need to know in the 300, 600,000 hours, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And the faster you learn that, you realize that while you're in school, it's like, yes, ultimately the end goal for me to be in school right now is to make sure that I have a professional license to practice with.
Yeah.
But you're pouring the foundation right there that will lead you to, okay, I'm going to do this part of the aesthetic profession. I'm going to do the dermaplaning and some of the other things, or I'm going to be a little bit more geared towards, a relaxing service facial, or I want to go into the resort market, or I want to own my own business, or whatever it is. So some of those things in those early days, those weeks, really months that you get the opportunity to do that helps to conceptualize the direction that you're heading.
And I think,
I feel like a lot of people fantasize or romanticize the idea of being an esthetician, but a lot of people don't know what it really is to be an esthetician. They get in that school and they're like, okay, I like it, and then when they get to the real world, they're like, oh, I don't like this. This is not.
Yeah, I know
for
so
me.
many people that was like, I don't like it.
It's not for me. It's not something that I would want to do because they don't realize. The moment you graduate and you get your license, that's the day you really become a sponge.
Yes.
When you are in that classroom, yes, everything's repetitory. Everything is like book by book by book, doing this and doing this and doing this. But when you sit down, with that client, the textbook doesn't matter. Everything you learn is when you start going to those trade shows and when you start meeting people, you start realizing I can use this from this company. That's what matters when you truly dive into being an esthetician.
And you learn from experience.
For sure. The experiences after you're out of there really helps to develop the career. But in school, they don't teach you the things that you need to know about making sure that you have your insurance for your license. Or if you set up a business that you're going to need a tax ID number and pay taxes on the services, or that you're going to be washing towels and folding.
Cleaning, disinfecting.
So all those things, right, that they ultimately shape, where you're going to end up and what you're going to end up doing in the profession of aesthetics.
So Circadia University has such a good name ring to it. Would you ever open up an aesthetic school?
Oh my God.
I've gotten that question many times. Never say never. What I can tell you is that, I've been taking courses, more business courses lately, because I went to school for business management and marketing in 2002.
Things have changed.
Things have changed a lot. So to be able to stay up on those things, I've still continued to educate myself. And one of the concepts that I've learned from a new mentor that I've been working with is that you have to have it's called the belief ceiling. Right? Brandon Dawson's the guy's name. Really, really smart guy, and I've learned a lot from him in a short period of time. So when your belief ceiling hits a certain level, well, then you're closed off to everything else. Right? So no, I would never say that we wouldn't have a school. There's no active plan, a brick and mortar school, but it doesn't mean that if the opportunity comes and it works for us,
that you wouldn't do it.
And I also want to note, because we talked about this in a previous episode too, about continuing education and how in this industry you never stop learning. Michael's in 20 plus years. And he literally just had a new mentor. Okay, so you're still investing in continuing education and mentorship because there's still opportunity for you to grow and continue to learn. And I love that.
And what's great about this moment in time and the hard work that I've put in over the last 21 years is that it had spawned so many other opportunities that I didn't even realize would come eventually. So the opportunity to be able to work with people like this that, expose you to the things that you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. Right? And we say that all the time, but it is the truth. It's the things that you don't know that you don't know that you don't know that you really will end up spending a lot of time and energy on. So having, places to go to source education, whether it's more aesthetic education on how to do treatments or whatever it is, or things that you'll need to make sure that you are developing your business properly as a business owner, because we don't get into aesthetics to be entrepreneurs. Most of us, we get into aesthetics to be an esthetician, to provide facials.
Did you ever have acne?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I still get acne. I had client Ashley up there extracting. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? It's like, I gotta get this out. So, yeah, of course. I mean, I suffered with acne when I was younger, and I have a little bit more of sensitive skin, and it's because I'm very, very, I'm like one gene away from, being a Fitzpatrick. So, I'm very susceptible. Plus, I spent a lot of time in the sun, unprotected skin for literally up until my mid-20s. It wasn't until like a year into Circadia, I'm like, oh, maybe I should start using some of this sun. Right? And of course, now I use it every day.
And you reapply?
I'll reapply all the time.
Yeah.
And, making sure, because I do travel a lot, that if I'm going to a place where it's high sun exposure, that I'm getting that reapplication. But I forget what's going on with that.
Speaking of traveling a lot, I wanted to ask, what's like a day in a life like with you, and how do you balance work with like personal life? I know you have 2 daughters, beautiful girls, by the way. How do you balance that? Is it hard for you? Are they young enough for you to take them on the road sometimes? Like, what is it like?
I will tell you, it's challenging. And again, I mentioned none of this is easy. It's particularly challenging now to figure out exactly what it is that I need to be focusing most of my energy on. Because as another Brandon Dawson phrase, as a player coach, I like to be very involved.
Oh, I like that. Player coach.
Player coach. Be a very hands-on CEO and make sure that I am in the middle so that I can, when you come, I can give you a tour and I can tell you how this tube filler is working and how it can fill 70 tubes.
That's why I said, how do you remember all of this? Like, this
started from the bottom.
Learn it again, say it again and again.
Yeah.
So as people call it, the work-life balance is a challenge. I don't believe in work-life balance. It's where's your passion, where's your passion point actually lie?
Yeah.
So being able to kind of look at my time and look at my schedule and say, okay, I know I've got 3 months of like all of this. I'm going to pack that time in, and then I'm going to leave this time open. So July is no fly.
Okay.
No fly July.
No fly July.
My daughters are here. They're here with me for most of the month.
I love it.
We have vacation time together. I will not go anywhere when it comes to work-related stuff. Don't ask. Everybody already knows. Don't even.
July blackout.
I love
blackout
no
date.
fly. December, with the exception of Gala, is pretty much the same thing.
What is Gala? You keep talking about it. Is it like,
we fight it the whole time.
What is Gala?
Tell us
Why
what that
were we
is.
invited?
So we're all invited.
Okay.
So
do we get to dress up?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to show you some of the outfits that people are wearing. So for the last 3 years, we had it first here in Reading, then we moved to Philadelphia, and then this last year, 2023, we were in Nashville.
Nice.
So our gala is a night of celebration.
Yes.
Celebrating not just the achievements and successes of us here at Circadia and the team, but also the achievements and the successes of our partners. Partners domestically here and internationally as well.
Nice.
So we do about, I think it's up to 35 different awards.
Wow.
It's an awards ceremony. It's an awards dinner. And everything from the Circadia Team MVP.
Wow.
Educator of the Year is another one. The Circadian Rhythm recipient, which is something that embodies the principles of who we are as a company and a brand. And then obviously there's some performance-oriented goals, top earning, selling, spa, or different channels. If it's a single operator, if it's a multi-destination, we do that for our international teams as well.
I
So
love that.
it's a great opportunity to continue to build the community, right? To build the ecosystem of Circadia.
Yes.
Because social media is a great tool to keep everybody connected.
Yeah.
And it's just grown. The first year we had 100 people. The second year we had 225 people.
Wow.
This year we had 350 people.
Wow.
Nice.
So we're back in Philly.
Are we local? So we can be there this year.
It's the 8th and 9th are
Of December?
yeah.
Okay.
We're writing that
We
down.
have
8th and the 9th.
definitely mark that one off on the calendar. So we have the educational event. Last year we had Ali Webb, who was the founder of DriveR, and Jim Kelly, who were two incredible keynote speakers. They were there with the team, very inspiring. We had Paul, who manages our social media, come and do his thing and talk about a program called 5 Mile Famous, which is how you can become famous within a 5-mile radius of your business.
Love
And
that.
Do they run ads on Instagram?
They
It
do.
sounds
It's
so familiar.
on Circadia University. He's on Instagram.
Yeah, but I was saying, it sounds so familiar.
You follow our Instagram.
Yeah, y'all probably
He
see
pops
it.
up.
You know Paul,
Yeah.
and then you also know 5 Mile Famous. But
Yeah.
what it is, the program creates a funnel, a very specific funnel of where you're generating your leads, your cost per lead generation, and how to make sure that you're filtering down to the people that could potentially walk through your door to receive a service or treatment.
I love
And
that.
how to get in front of them. so that they can come in the door. So that's really exciting stuff. But the gala, it's a big party. Really.
I love
The
that.
gala
We
is
will be there.
Just celebrating. And the night before the gala, after the education, we also have a theme party. So last year in Nashville, it was Denim and Diamonds, which was a blast.
Yes.
And this year it's the Spajama party.
This pajamas. Wear your spa
Everybody's in your
pajamas.
spa PJs, and I forget the venue, but it's across from the Logan in Philly.
Okay, I know where
It's
it is.
a high-rise
Yes.
building,
That's
and it has a
lovely.
360 view.
Assembly.
Something like that.
Yes.
Well, Assembly's the rooftop bar
The Logan.
of the Logan. This one's across the street.
Okay, I know what you're talking
I'll get you all the details.
Yeah.
Get
Okay.
all the viewers the details.
So,
No, we're
Make
not
it-
spa pajamas.
We're
We're going to cut this part out. We're gatekeeping.
like a night of elegance.
Spa pajamas. That's the, okay. That's
Spa
the,
pajamas.
Yeah, okay. That's the day before.
So it's an educational event the day before the
Yes.
gala. That evening is the theme party, which this year is the Spajama party. And then the next day in the evening,
Is the
starting
gala.
about 6 o'clock, is the gala, and it goes till.
Is this a ticketed event? Is this something that
It
we have
is.
to RSVP by?
We sell tickets for this. It's extremely cost effective.
Okay,
okay.
We charge $125
Oh, wow,
for
right.
an entire event, but it's open bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want my arm? Take it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and honestly, I mean,
Are you going to have the tomahawk steak? I was like, oh my gosh, they were cutting up tomahawk steaks in the Philly show in last year.
I got like half a bite of that steak.
I was like, they literally were passing
It
out
was
pieces
so
of tom.
good.
It was so
It's so good.
good, and I remember at the time I was doing like a meat fast, like I was vegan for 3 months, and someone got some of it, I was like, and then the guy that was cutting, I was like, okay, just don't tell me, don't get it on camera, yeah. No, I ate it. It was
Oh my God, everything was good in here. All the
It's
little
funny 'cause
sliders.
the food the tomahawks weren't even on the menu. I was like, there's not enough food here. I'm like, bring out tomahawks.
Yeah.
It was delicious. I'm
That place
just
closed down.
really.
Yeah, what was it called? It was
I forget. It was
an old movie theater.
yeah, and then it had like the upstairs. It was
Yeah, they closed like.
why? It was such a nice vibe.
People don't want to go to the city.
I think that's what.
Parking alone kills it, you know?
Right.
Oh, I have a question. So we're going into 2024, and you know that we just talked about that everybody is on.
We in 2024.
We're going to 2025.
Through 2024, halfway through.
And as we move forward, and you say everyone is talking about like new ingredients and new products, what is the future of skincare from your standpoint?
Yeah, from
Even
your
because
perspective.
you are like
That's a great question.
Mr. International himself.
Yes.
Yeah.
As you travel through and you are picking up all these new ingredients and you're sourcing all these different products, what is the future of skincare?
I think the one word I would use is customization.
Yes.
That is something that, and we had a chat about this upstairs, is something that pretty much everybody's looking for. And it doesn't matter if it's customization in the treatment room, customization when it comes to home care recommendations and utilization of product for daytime and nighttime use. People want to know that something has been developed specifically for their needs.
Yeah.
That's where we as professionals come in, is that we can tailor those programs. We can tailor what we're doing in the treatment room. We can tailor specifically what they're going to be going home with, especially if you have a brand that has, a lot of versatility with the options that are available. Skin is not a one size fits all. My grandfather used to say all the time that skin is a mosaic. What's going on here isn't going on here, isn't going on here. And it's certainly not happening that way on all these different individuals. So I think customization, our mixology, that's something that I see as a huge growing segment of the market. Where is skincare going as a whole? I think that, we saw this as an effect of COVID, that many of the professional brands have made products more readily available to the masses. When I was coming up, that was like the biggest no-no that you could possibly, that was the biggest offense. If you start selling online, you have abandoned the trade, you have abandoned the aesthetics market, the esthetician, and we will never look at you again. It's not quite as restrictive now as it was, because I think just the nature of so many younger people coming in, the younger generation who grew up with the technology, who grew up with the cell phone, who grew up buying things on Amazon. It's the purchasing habits that we have as consumers that dictate a lot of the business activities. So having those things readily available is important. It's an expectation, I think, that most consumers have. When it comes to professional skincare, how can we
keep it
lean
professional?
into that? Keep it professional and not fight technology. It's I'll tell you, it's one of the hardest things that we're trying to implement right now. Is making sure that up until right now, if you want a Circadia product, if you want to legitimately purchase, you got to go into the brick and mortar store.
Yeah.
But we know that with affiliate programs and dropship programs and all these other things, we're making it more accessible for you at your spa to increase your revenue.
Yeah.
I mean, because one of the fibers of who we are is a company that wants to support the profession. That's extremely important to me, is to make sure that whatever business activities we're engaging in, we're supporting the skincare professionals. So if I don't have the availability to provide you with some link or way for them to get that product without walking into your store, you may lose that sale.
Yeah.
So now I'm not protecting your business. I'm actually hindering your business. I'm keeping you from growing as a business and as a company by not having some level of accessibility. So the question becomes, well, how accessible is it? Is it everybody? Is it every professional that's out there has a link in their link tree and they can start selling Circadia and then it's all over the place? I don't think so. But we need to be able to stop fighting technology and embrace these newer opportunities to develop the businesses that we're supporting.
I think that's the problem.
Love that
Social
answer.
media now. And the one downfall I always see about social media is that people have the influence to influence people to misinformation. Like
without the
one thing that I
expertise.
always see is like, stop calling it professional skincare or stop calling it medical grade skincare. There's no
difference. And there absolutely.
And I'm like, girl.
We can talk on that in a minute.
No, we do. Yes,
because I would like people to know, even if this has to be our closing question. I would like this question to be out there.
Wait, it's no, I think
we got 20 minutes before your 4 o'clock meeting.
Okay,
What is the difference? Because
please,
I feel like from a person, I can scream it from the rooftop. I have tried it all, and I will blow a bank on skincare. I have seen a difference. Like I said, that
delivery
is so much different. When I got that moisturizer, I thought I'll order this from my client, but she ain't getting it now. Like, what is the difference? Let them know that it is a difference.
So there is a difference, but there's a difference to us as professionals, and there's a difference to us as consumers and users of the product. There is no difference when it comes to the regulatory agencies that are put in place to monitor skincare formulations. Okay, so the FDA recognizes the difference between OTCs and cosmetics. That's it. If there is a drug or something that has an FDA monograph, which is basically a set of rules that drug has to adhere to, SPFs, benzoyl peroxide, salicylic acid, hydroquinone, it's an OTC cosmetic. The rest of everything that we're using, our brand and everybody else, is all cosmetic. It all falls in the same umbrella. So if you're buying Circadia at the Medi Spa or the Day Spa, or if you're buying, St. Eye Scrub in Walgreens or Walmart, regulatory-wise, it's all the same as far as they're concerned. Now, as far as the market that you're targeting, are you marketing to physicians, or this brand is going to live on the shelf in doctors' offices only? That's what they're calling medical grade. It doesn't have anything else to do classification-wise. Now, the formulations may be different.
I was about to say, what about
the integrity of the emulsifying systems and the emollients and the humectants and the peptides and the percentages of vitamins and the type of vitamin C, that all will dictate the integrity and the performance of the product. So there is a difference there when it comes to the market, but that is a marketing direction. That is what the company's decided. This is the channel that we're going to market through, and this is how we're going to make these products. So you have medical, you have spa, right, which is us, but then you also have spa resort, which is going to be what we affectionately refer to as the foo-foo fluffy stuff, right? And whether that is, a more organically oriented brand that doesn't have a lot of active ingredients,
like
or whether
Aveda.
that is whichever brand, vegetables and fruits and vegetables in jars, as people call it sometimes. Not disparaging that channel, because it's very successful. And estheticians gravitate towards that. It's a personal choice. Or you can look at another spa type of product, which is going to be a little bit more not foo-foo in a different way. It's just going to be a very relaxing. It's going to have, more fragrance and more sensory appeal. Be a thicker texture product. Doesn't mean it's going to have any of those other performance ingredients in it.
Right.
So categorically, there is no difference between any of the skincare formulations as far as regulatory agencies are concerned until you start incorporating drugs, sunscreens into your products. And some companies just opt to not do that at all because it's more expensive to do that. You might imagine it's quite expensive to maintain a facility like this and to maintain the qualifications that we have to make those different kinds of products.
So
So it really has to come down when you hear medical versus this. It has to do with mostly the marketing channel, and based on that marketing channel, you'll see certain indicators in those formulations, different types of, let's call it, ingredients in those formulations.
Yeah, I was going to say, and the integrity of the product as well, like the delivery systems, how it's made, how it's like everything you just showed us. Like, I'm pretty sure that's not happening with St. Ives.
Well, I don't call Circadia medical. I mean, Circadia is as medical
professional
as
grade, professional, not medical.
Professional.
I don't call it medical. A lot of other people call it medical. Why? Well, it was founded by a doctor.
Yeah.
I'm not a doctor, but people say, you sound like a doctor.
Yeah.
Right?
You do.
It's because I learned from an amazing doctor.
Yeah.
That's the glasses.
It's the glasses.
But there's nothing that stops medical facilities, dermatology office, cosmetic derm offices from carrying Circadia. And then we have plenty of them that do. But then you have another brand that says, we are only going to be in medical offices.
Yeah.
And that's medical grade skincare when it comes to the overall definition.
Mm-hmm.
The performance of our products, there's other products that are, sold into spas and day spas and direct estheticians that qualify as medical grade just based on what they're using as their ingredient technology. It's just not the channel that they have chosen to market to.
Gotcha.
Medical in particular is very expensive to market.
Very.
It's one of the reasons why the products are $250 for
Yeah.
5 ounces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not the cost of the formulation. It's the cost
It's
of
the marketing.
Yeah, I bet.
Because a lot of people always say, like, well, if it's not medical grade, if it's not professional grade, why is it not accessible to everybody? Why do I need a license to buy it? And I'll be trying to explain to people, because you do. I'm not going back and forth with you why you can't buy it. You can only buy it through a licensed professional because you need to take certain steps before you administer the product to somebody.
You don't just, it's a liability for just a random person that has no knowledge on skincare to just be able to go buy anything like that has any active ingredients in it. That's why, like, what Face Reality, they'll sell their cleansers and stuff directly to our clients without like a funnel. They can enter our name, but it's not
No
like
actives.
but it's no actives because they don't want to let somebody burn their face
a lot of
off.
brands have decided to go that direction, and it's interesting because the ones that are the quote professional brands that I have seen as, we'll call it competitors because we're competing. Everyone's competing for the same discretionary dollars in our space. Have opted to do that. And that definitely leaves a bad taste in the professional's mouth. Now,
because what if they forget to enter my name?
15 years ago, you'd be done. You'd be like,
canceled.
Public execution, you're done. Like, there's no way that we're using this skincare company anymore. And I've seen it happen to more than a couple over the years.
Yeah. I like the ones, I'm sorry. I like the ones like when it's like, okay, you're now shopping through Skin Oasis, through Circadia. Like, I like when they set up a funnel that way, not when they can just go on and buy whatever, because it's like, I can't really control what they're buying, or I can't see, like, hey, I noticed you recently purchased X, Y, and Z. I hope you're not using that with X, or with B,
That's one of the things that we know, that as we are beginning to introduce this as an opportunity for our partners, is that you need to have full disclosure. You'll need to know who's buying what when to make sure, because there's a huge amount of trust that you, the professional, has to have with the brands. Because guess who has the phone numbers, the email addresses, and the names of all your customers when you start doing that?
You.
Brands. So there has to be a level of trust there.
It's true. I never even thought about that.
And the brands. Because when you see the brand then say, well, these don't have any active ingredients, so we can sell them to you
directly
without you. That's the slippery slope. And it's not long before someone else comes along and says, well, I'm in charge now, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to sell everybody, and we're going to cut the professionals out.
Exactly.
That's my commitment, is that is something that I will never allow to happen.
I love that.
Since we're talking about, I don't know if we have time, but I did have this question upstairs, and I was just curious because it kind of blew my mind when you showed us a space where the products kind of sit in, and then you send them out to a lab for them to be tested.
Yes.
And then you said if something comes back contaminated, the whole thing is thrown out. And that kind of hurt my heart a little bit because I was like, ugh. So obviously, sanitation and stuff is really important in here. So how often would you say, and maybe not as often now, but even when you first began, how often were you finding yourself having to kind of like redo those batches over?
I won't say that it doesn't happen. It does happen on occasion. It's been a long time since it's happened because we have a lot of these controls in place. And that's the benefit of having such strict regulations like ISO for exportation into Europe and other parts of the world. Having FDA registered credentials. And I mentioned FDA comes in when they want to. ISO, we have to invite them in
Every year
to make sure that we can maintain that. So luckily, the controls that we have in place on the front end make sure that when the product is on the back end ready for testing, there is no potential for contamination. But if, there's dust or something like that, we will have to throw products away. And if they don't pass our quality standards, then everything gets quarantined and ultimately gets pulled off the shelf. Luckily, it's only happened once or twice since we've been here. And it didn't have to do with internal contamination. It was actually contamination of raw materials that come in.
Okay. So not even anything to do with you.
And we then have to put controls in place to make sure, because we do use a lot of natural and organically sourced ingredients. So when you have something that comes in and you have, for example, we had a pumpkin mask. Where we have our pumpkin mask, the pumpkin powder that came in, we didn't catch it till later, that had unusually high bacterial count. Now that would be fine if you put it in a product, if the bacteria count wasn't so high that it actually overwhelmed the preservative system. And then we had an unusually high amount of bacteria that came back from the lab before we put the product out. And then it's like, well, there's just too much, it's overwhelmed. So making sure that we're testing the quality of the raw materials, which again is also very expensive, before they go into finished batches, has helped to alleviate that. It's much more expensive to throw a batch away.
So would you say that there is definitely a difference, and you obviously just went over the difference between like professional and over the counter, but would you say there's definitely a difference in consistency in the batches? Like when you're buying products that are being made here, obviously, versus like in bigger quantities?
Consistency meaning like what the final product, how it turns out. There should be. We'll get the powder in and open up the bucket, and one day it's deep purple, and another day it's like pink. And it has to do with the yield of some of those berries that are coming through and the blend that they're providing to us. So there is going to be some variation, but we have specs of each product. So when it comes to, again, pH, viscosity, bacterial content, all those things have to fall within the range to make sure that it is released for distribution.
So how often would you say, or how long, I guess, typically the process takes you from creating the concept of the product, making it, and then actually putting it out? How long would you say on average?
That's the best question that I've gotten in a long time. So it varies tremendously. I had a product concept for what is now the circadian time balancing mask 10 years ago.
Wow.
No, I mean it. And what we were looking for is something that we knew, this is before slugging. When it's like, okay, when you have recovery of the skin, when you retain moisture, the transepidermal water, so you're losing more moisture between 9 and 11 p.m. than any other time during the day. So your circadian rhythms allow for your moisture loss to be at its height. So there are certain times when that's going to be really good, and you want to occlude the skin and maintain that moisture. So that's why slugging uses petrolatum, which is one of the most occlusive materials that we have. So we were looking to introduce something like that years ago. So I put it together. It sat on the shelf. There it sat for a long time. And then it came to, okay, we need to introduce a more hydrating mask. And then we wanted to create a sleep mask for the consumer. When sleep masks got popular, after slugging. So then I started playing with some other things, and then I'm like, well, I want to make it like a light color, like a light fresh color, like a light blue. So I started looking around for light blue colors. Called one of our suppliers, and she said, well, I sent you 3 years ago. Do you still have the sample of the malachite? I'm like, what's malachite? So I go back to the lab, and there it sits in a bottle. I open it up. It's brilliant blue color, malachite. So I then took that, I incorporated it in, and I started really reading into the benefits of the ingredients. Like, well, wait a minute, this is copper. This is copper that's actually stimulating collagen production, accelerating proliferation, maintaining circadian function in the skin. Right there in the literature that I completely missed. Stuff that's been sitting on my shelf for years. So that was a slow process for the development of that finished formulation. Versus the lip products, which it's like, okay, I want this, and the lip product, and I wanted watermelon flavor. We bang that out in like 3 months. So it'll vary from time to time, but what I will tell you is that the inspiration for developing products will come from everywhere. The question is, will the market satisfy the need for that product? Because you can have a really cool, awesome idea for a product, and if nobody's interested in using it, you're not going to sell any.
Yeah, that's
so
crazy.
You got to buy.
Where do you get your inspiration?
That's amazing.
It comes from everywhere. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to have been so closely tied to my grandfather's business on R&D. For years, I mentioned, even while I was working in Circadia, I was doing a lot of work on the bench, developing our existing and future formulas, but I was also doing work for other companies. So some of the other brands, and you walk around to a trade show, I know it's in your product because I was making it.
Yeah.
So I listen to some of this stuff. I'm just like, people like my formulations are locked in a vault somewhere. I'm like, are they now?
The vault right here.
Yeah, like I literally, during your chemical peels class, you said, buy the little pH strips on Amazon and test your peels. And I went into my studio, and some of them I was just like,
that's why nothing be happening.
Yeah.
No magic.
Like I'll have a peel that's TCA, and I'll do 8 layers of TCA and get no peeling. And it's supposed to be 10%,
Yeah.
Versus using one of yours, and it's like.
But also, the healthier the skin, the less you feel.
Yeah, but no matter who I put that on,
nothing happens.
Never.
It's BS.
Yeah.
And again, that is so insightful for a lot of professionals to know, okay, well, a lot of them are coming in and they're learning about the concept of pH for the first time when we're talking peels.
Yeah.
You covered it in school, but as we've said, well, you may have been responsible to read that chapter.
Yeah.
And if you didn't catch that in that chapter, well, the importance of pH and mimicking skin pH and making sure that the peeling methods that you're trying are significantly lower than skin pH, you might not catch all that. So to be able to then go home and test it and say, well, this is a lot higher in pH than it should be if I'm expecting the skin to actually physically peel.
Yeah.
So I just try to share those insights, and again, it's stuff that I've learned along the way. I'm just sharing my experience and my knowledge and things that have happened through product development or education or mistakes that get made or having to dump a batch or whatever those things are. Which again, we make fewer and fewer of those types of mistakes, but there's other mistakes that we make because we're growing the business now and figuring out what marketing initiatives are going to work the best, or what channel to create for a product. I mean, I think I mentioned to you that only about 15% of our business is resort spa for those larger hotels, which is a really nice market. It's very competitive, just as competitive as medical because it's a much smaller space, but it's a fantastic place to be. So creating formulas that we know are going to work better for that market, they may not be as attractive to an esthetician that's looking to do a bit more corrective skincare. This may be a little bit more of a relaxing style facial or a sensory oriented facial. So it's making sure that we have enough in the line that it's attractive to the markets that we need to serve as the core of our clientele, and also formulas that we know that we're looking to expand into another market.
That makes sense.
Question. So right now, Korean skincare is
The wave.
booming. Everybody's talking about their treatments. Everybody wants to get onto the technologies. How do you feel about it? Do you get any inspiration from?
I do, and I'm fortunate enough that I have my COO, my Chief Operating Officer, Caitlin. She is Korean.
Oh, nice.
She was just in Korea.
Nice.
So she's bringing a lot of interesting things to my attention. I mean, I'm so fortunate because I've gotten a chance to work with some of the most talented, smartest people in general that I've ever met, and they all love skincare.
Yeah, of course.
Right? So her being able to go and bring some things back that kind of catch our attention. Not as much ingredient technology, packaging. Trends are very interesting with what they've got going on over there. So. I think Korean skincare it's here to stay for sure.
I agree.
It's not a trend. But I can tell you, I would never even consider trying to sell Circadia into Korea because, again, that's a very highly competitive space. Right? Vietnam is the fastest growing market that we have. We're selling more new skincare into Vietnam percentage-wise than we are in any other region.
Wow.
But Korea, we wouldn't even attempt it.
You're saying Korea, a city block is just all spas. The whole block, for blocks. They're you go on one block, you be so lost of where to go because everybody's all in. But guess what? Even though they're all different competitors, everyone is still booming because that's
how much.
That's the thing. Everybody takes care of their skin.
Well, and you also have it's categorized as wellness tourism.
Yes.
But under the umbrella of wellness tourism, you also have people that will go to Korea just to experience their skincare and the spa services that they offer there.
Yeah.
I've been tempted.
I would do it too.
Definitely
Let's
go.
We should go. Like, I'm dead serious. Like, I heard that the best time to go is September, October, because it's less tourism there during those months. That's the best time to go to Korea. I've been researching. I told you I've been researching.
She goes down like serious. We gotta pull her out of the right.
Yeah, she goes down serious.
But we definitely should go. That would be so amazing to go and just experience a different way of skincare and not just realize it on American skincare. I told you when I went to Dubai and I got services done, they had a steamer with 2 heads. One blew out hot, one blew out cold. And I was like, oh, I need to buy this. Like, how can I buy this right here and right now? And my steamer in my studio has a cold nozzle and it has a hot nozzle.
Cool.
So, but I barely use steam anymore. But the cold nozzle is pretty cool.
That's cool. I've not seen that yet.
Yeah, it's a cold. Yeah, it's a cold one. And so when you get like a pill done, instead of you just having a fan, it blows out like cold air. As you're getting.
And I guess like if you still want that steam, but someone with like rosacea or super sensitive skin, you don't want to put the hot. So,
but I barely use steam anymore.
Yeah,
steam is. Think of the past.
You know, well, and steam is interesting too. And just a little sidebar on steam. Like one of the reasons why we use steam the most is for enzyme activity.
But I bought your thing. I bought the spray that you told me to get me.
The what's called
the pH neutral.
Yes, I use that all the time. I don't even need the steam.
Yeah, the steam will actually accelerate enzyme activity. So when you have bromelain, papain, trypsin, those are the main ones that are used in the industry to break protein linkages.
Yeah.
Steam heat in general will accelerate the activity.
Yeah.
So that's why steam was kind of introduced, is because it helped to increase overall activity of some of those things. But it's much more important for them to be wet, completely solubilized. Yeah. If you add the two of those together, moisture and heat, then that's the steam. So, but it's hard to gauge how well the steam is hitting
one side. That's the only thing.
You got an enzyme. If you got an enzyme everywhere, and a steamer is hitting up here versus down here, you have more activity. Whoever figures out a way to make a steamer that has even distribution of moisture and heat across the face.
Go around the face. You know how that light? Yeah. You know how like they have those ring lights that go around the face. They need to blow out steam.
Yeah, there you go.
On the university, you guys use the towel. You'll just put the towel, the hot towel, and just kind of like let it sit there. We do hot towels. It's simple. It's easy. But that could be a collaboration for somebody. Whoever's doing the half ring light and the steamers, they need to get together and do some engineering. Yes, that's a good idea. We got to put it out there. Okay, so this definitely has been great. We don't want to take up too much of your time, but if there's anything else that you want everyone to know about Circadia, about what you do here, and just what's really to come, because you're obviously just going to continue to just thrive.
Well, I want to thank you, ladies, so much for coming here. Truly, I appreciate you coming all this way to, sit down and hear me talk for a while here. I do my best to figure out what is it that the people that are following me and are interested in hearing what I say want to hear the most. Is it information about ingredient technology? Yeah. Is it insight into the business experiences that I had? Is it the intricacies of what goes into product formulation? Because I have experience in all of those things. Yeah. So I would say that, when it comes to advice, which is also what I've been solicited for recently, is, again, just make sure that whatever it is that you want to do, get started. Just get started. Just gotta do it. Right? And you will make adjustments along the way. You will make mistakes along the way. Some of those mistakes are going to be bigger than others. But just make sure that you get started, but know what it is that you want to do. Have really clearly defined goals. Write them down. Write them out.
Do you believe in like vision boards and stuff like that?
He got a vision board here.
You should have seen what this place looked like before you guys got here. Right? I make sure they were taking pictures of everything. Like, don't erase that. Don't erase that. But no, absolutely. I mean, I am fortunate enough to have a team, a group of people around me that help to make sure that, as a CEO, I can't do everything.
Yeah. Right? Looks like you do, but
I do a lot, and I probably in the weeds in a lot more areas than I possibly should be. But I have a few things that are my responsibilities as a CEO that I absolutely have to do. Yeah. The biggest one is this is Grant Cardone now is make leads hot.
Yeah.
Right. So whenever I'm out there up on a stage, or I'm on Instagram, or I'm in the booth, or I'm on a phone conference, or doing a Zoom meeting, in the back of my mind, I'm generating interest in what it is that we do here,
Mm-hmm.
right? And ultimately, sales drives every single business,
Yeah.
right? So if the phone's not ringing and people aren't emailing and saying, "Hey, this seems kind of interesting," right? Then my team out there has got nothing to do, and then they're like, "I need more leads,"
Yeah.
right? So making leads hot is the thing that's kind of in the back of my mind all the time. But at the same time, I've also got to make sure that I'm setting the vision,
Yes.
I'm directing the team, and I am pulling the team forward so that they can pull the business forward.
I love it.
Right. So those are the things that I'm focused on. And again, if you come back here and interview me in another year, I may have some other sound bites, some other little tidbits. But it's a very exciting time to be in the skincare industry. It's a very exciting time to be a skincare professional.
Yeah.
And I see nothing but great growth opportunities for everybody in our space ahead. So whatever it is, again, that you're looking to do, get started right away.
Yes.
But write down what it is that you want to do.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I always be like, yo, if I would have did this 10 years ago when I first said I wanted to do it, oh my gosh, I always say that. So,
But it wasn't my time. I believe timing is everything. I don't believe that just because you have a vision, it's the day for you to execute it. Because I'd rather be successful at something by babying it and letting it grow than to jump head first and let it fall by the wayside. And I feel like a lot of people jump into things with no plan, no vision, no nothing. It's like, I just want to do it because everybody else is doing it. And then they all let it fall. And I'd rather God prepare me so it can succeed and be fruitful than for me to just say, I want to do it because everyone else is doing it. So I think that's the most important thing in life.
Yeah, for me, it was like, I wanted to do it, but I was letting everything else around me. I was prioritizing.
And I kept telling you, go. I said, why are you not going? Why are you not going?
I was prioritizing everything else. And then I just was like, you know what, let me do it. And then I did it. And I was like, oh my gosh, you would never believe this, but in high school, you know how like you're dating somebody and they got a pimple, they want you to pop it? I was like, oh, hell no, you got the wrong one. I am not popping, like, no. I could never imagine myself popping pimples until I actually went to school. I just was obsessed with skincare because I had acne bad. And so I just wanted to, I really went to school, paid $12,000 to learn how to just
take care of
myself.
Yeah.
And then
a lot of people do that.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
But then once I got in there and we started doing the clinical part of it, I'm like, this is kind of fun. I'm like putting a mask on, doing little massages, the decollete. I'm like, this is cool. And then from that point on, I specialize in corrective. I don't do any fluff. But in school, it was fun. But there's no money in fluff.
Right.
I want to get into fluff.
Honestly, that's why I always say, like, I like the
She
balance.
does a good balance.
I do both.
She does
so,
a
like,
good
I focus on corrective, but I definitely also add the fluff. I do the hand and arm. I do the neck and shoulder massage. You know, I feel like, because like how you guys believe everything is internal overall wellness, right? I believe that too. So if you're coming in, you're stressed the hell out and you're getting a facial, but if I get to relax you, even if it is for that hour that you're sitting on my bed, that you come back and you're physically better, but you're also mentally feeling better.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and here's another thing that I've learned. You know, you have to make sure that you know who your audience is, and whether that's a persona, a group. We call them personas, a group of target market purchasers, whether that's students, whether that's a resort market, whether that's medical, whether that's day spa, whether that's single room esthetician operator. You really have to be able to identify those, and then once you figure out where you fall, you can cross over a little bit. As a brand, you can do that. As a professional provider, you can cross over a little bit too. So you can do some corrective, you can do some fluffy stuff.
Yeah, she does a great balance.
Maybe you're Sonia the skin lady, and your thing is dermaplaning.
Maybe Rashida the skin lady.
You know, okay.
And that's like your thing. Right?
Yeah. But your focus is dermaplaning, or maybe your focus is I'm the wax queen, or maybe your focus is I'm the peel esthetician.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. You can blur those, cross over those lines a little bit, which we all will do, so to make sure that we have, the clientele that we need. But the riches are in the niches.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So when you get really good at doing one or two things, don't open up an aesthetic practice and think I've got to do all this
Everything.
stuff.
Cheesecake
Facials
Factory.
and
I
waxing,
say the
and I got to do
Cheesecake Factory.
eyelash extensions, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Figure out exactly what it is that you're passionate about, that you want to do, and then if you want to bring in something else or another service or another product line, all those things. I find that people in our industry get quite overwhelmed, which I think is why we end up with a lot of veterans.
Yeah.
They've either gotten stuck in what they do, or they're completely overwhelmed, and they can find, in Circadia, opportunities to do a lot of those different things. They can be a peel expert. They can get dermaplane training. They can work with corrective skincare. They can do a little bit of the fluff stuff, which we have some of it. So there's a lot to play with within Circadia.
Yeah, I like it. I love it. That's why we're here.
Well, thank you again, ladies, so much. I appreciate it.
Michael.
It's been a lot of fun, and you guys are more than welcome to come back
Yeah.
anytime you want.
Oh, we will be back.
We will be back.
For
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. And you already know, if you follow us, subscribe, like, hit the little notification button. This is kind of our opener for our new season, so
We have a
definitely set the bar high.
Yeah,
so.
we have a lot of exciting things for you guys this season, and we're just so happy to be back. So thank you so much for watching.
Yes.
Thank
Don't
you.
forget.
Bye.
Bye, guys.